Good morning. Coming up, a fatal accident in Missouri claims the life of one man.
We're going to start with a little Tuesday morning break, but we've got additional thunderstorm activity on the horizon. All that and your watches, warnings, and advisories from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, KOAM learns how much the data breach cost the city of Joplin.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning. Welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Chris Warner. We are going to have those stories and so much more, including highlighting a baby giraffe named Cole. But first, we got Michael Hayslip here, and what morning is complete without a little Michael Hayslip?
I'm sorry, I did not see the baby giraffe story.
Apparently, the morning's already complete for you.
Coming. I have seen several people, probably including myself. I heard a great line over the weekend, and they were talking to a player from the University of Michigan, asking him 3 things in your life. You're a very successful athlete. What do you wish you could do? Well, his 3 brothers are hockey players, but his mom did not let him learn how to skate. And he referred to himself, and I saw this coming because I'm like, I'd be like a baby giraffe. He said, I put on ice skates and I'm like a baby giraffe. And I was like, I get that. I get that visualization and I get that feeling. You do something uncomfortable like that, and you're like, I'm coordinated 99% of the time, but
see, I'm only coordinated about 88% of the time.
That's better than a baby giraffe, though. Chris, the second morning in a row, we've carved out this little niche for ourselves as the thunderstorm activity from late last night has now moved up to our north and out to our east. You'll also notice, while all the flood warnings that we have indicated in the green, the flood watches, the high wind warnings, they actually do not affect any of our particular highlighted counties. Now, coming off of last night, we got one storm report up to the far north right there, about 2.5 inches. We're anywhere in between about 1 and 1.5 for the most part widespread, granted. In your backyard or your community certainly could be more, as we're up to around 2 inches in localized places. But once again, we don't have any flooding concerns as of yet. I did notice this when I walked out the front door this morning, though. It is ripe for the fishing worms coming out of the ground. What that means, ground saturated. So anything else that we take on for the next 2 days, that's going to increase our flood concerns. Still delightful temperature-wise, but don't be deceived by this. Make sure that you take that umbrella with you. Probably don't need the heavy coat, though, until tomorrow. We'll still be able to work up into the 60s, but we know we've got additional rainfall coming, and let's remember that these lines that we're going to kick in for the afternoon and evening hours, this increases our severe thunderstorm risk as far as winds and even the possibility of some hail kicking in with this. We see a little backflow and regeneration out to the west for Tuesday night, and then as it rolls through, once again, we get a little break Wednesday morning. This really, that's going to be upper atmosphere, going to be cold enough for the radar to show that. Not going to be able to come down as that. We're just going to keep everything as of rain. Now, Chris, so we're down to 2 more days. I do think that by the time we're done with tonight, we are going to at least have some flood watches pop up. I don't know if we'll be in warning mode, but we will see some watches. And then remember, on Wednesday, the key factor is we lose our thunder and lightning. So that's great. That's great news.
Yeah.
A little safer to be outside, but much cooler on Wednesday as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you know, it seems, I've mentioned this before, I know, but every time you and I are together, there's one key topic we're talking about. Turn around, don't drown.
Yes.
So, and you know, and I know people at home know that there's a number of low-lying crossings around here.
Right.
It won't take that much rain, especially right now, to flood those out, even for just a few hours. So if there's water over the roadway,
and
watch out.
Chris, you bring up a great point, because in some of those places, it's darned if you do, darned if you don't. You're going to get your ground that can absorb that water, and then you're going to run into elevated places on those low-lying areas where that ground's simply going to say, Matt, I'm good, and it's just going to run right down, fill up those spillways.
So there may be some unexpected crossings that have a little water over them, even though it doesn't seem like we got a lot of rain. It's enough.
And of course, any reports that we get from Department of Transportation, we'll have those for you. We'll pass those along ASAP.
Of course we will. Michael, thank you so much. An Adrian, Missouri man is dead after a crash in Vernon County. Now, authorities say 69-year-old Charles Schutte was riding a motorcycle on I-49 about 14 miles north of Nevada when he hit the guardrail. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. The ex-wife of former Missouri Governor Eric Greitens accuses her ex-husband of physical abuse. The accusations were made in a sworn affidavit and revealed in court records yesterday. Greitens and his ex-wife Sheena are in a child custody dispute. Sheena Greitens accuses her ex-husband of physical abuse and of threatening to use his political influence to ruin her reputation. Eric Greitens resigned from office in 2018 after revelations he had an extramarital affair and accusations that he blackmailed the woman he was having the affair with. Greitens is currently running for the Republican nomination for senator to replace Roy Blunt, who is retiring. 8 months ago, the city of Joplin fell victim to a data breach. Now we're learning what the cost of that breach was. In July of last year, the city of Joplin had what they called a network security incident. It ultimately shut down city phones, online services, and someone outside managed to take files out of the city's network. That impacted employees as some employer-sponsored health plan files were taken, and some residents were affected as well as sewer bill files were also impacted. Now, a security firm was hired to solve the problem and a ransom was paid. The city did not disclose those costs. Earlier this year, we took a look at budget amendments passed by council following the data breach. One amendment had an unusually high amount for the city's general liability insurance fund. KOAM requested documents related to that fund, and those documents disclosed the cost of the breach. The city paid a ransom of just over $338,000 via a wire transfer service. That's where the city's general liability insurance fund comes in, as it covers just over $313,000 of that cost with a $25,000 deductible. While that cost is covered by insurance, there are 4 firms that were paid for services related to the data breach, which, according to the document obtained by KOAM, are not covered by insurance. Stronghold Data, Baker Hostetler, TracePoint, and ESRI all received payments from the city related to the breach. Those costs total an additional $322,000. Now, we reached out to the city regarding those costs and how they were paid. We had additional questions regarding the data breach. However, the city declined to answer our questions. Now, based on the document KOAM received, it means there's $322,000 of taxpayer money that was spent for the data breach. It's not accounted for by insurance. The total cost of the breach was more than $635,000. You can find the complete cost report in this story at KOAMNewsNow.com. When the Joplin City Council met last night, a number of members of the general public spoke out in support of the Joplin Police Department. Now, some advocated for increasing wages for Joplin police officers. They compared Joplin police wages with wages for officers in surrounding areas and discussed ways to get funds for the department for additional officers.
All we've gotten in return is, let's talk about it. Let's do a study. Or let's do another study, because it's been too long since we did the first study. You know, and I feel like it has not been a priority for this council. They seem to be more interested in giving us pretty buildings. I like pretty buildings. I think that's great, but that's number 10 on the list, not number 1. This is number 1.
The Monday night's council meeting also included a presentation about plans for Memorial Hall. Officials will give that same presentation again at the Joplin Chamber of Commerce on Thursday at 10 a.m. All right, you ready for this? I'm ready. He's ready for this. Zoos have some adorable baby animals, or of course just animals in general. Here at KOAM, we love baby animals. So we're going to share one with you today. Meet Cole. Take a look at this guy. He's a baby giraffe, as you can see. Even though, you know, baby giraffes are still pretty big. Now, so this baby giraffe, born to her parents, Shelly and Kelly, who are first-time parents on February 21st. Nicole weighed 143 pounds at birth and stood 5 feet 10 inches tall. Now, at a month old, Cole weighs approximately 200 pounds and stands over 6 feet tall. So I'm not quite that tall.
I thought a baby giraffe would weigh more than 140 pounds.
I haven't actually ever seen a baby giraffe like in person. So
really?
I can't say. I mean, I've seen giraffes.
Right.
I mean, but I've never actually seen a baby giraffe. So, I mean, that baby giraffe is about me 5 or 6 years ago. So
I do. Yeah. If you ever have a chance to, you won't leave the giraffe exhibit at the zoo if they have a baby, just because you can't stop. You can't stop watching them.
Because they're learning on the fly. oh my gosh, how do these joints, why am I so big? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean,
it's wonderful.
Look at a baby giraffe, it's so big. A baby giraffe's taller than I am.
But the funny thing is we have a still photo of it. We don't have it clumsily trying to figure its way around the savannah.
That's true. That's true. But we can assure you that he's clumsily making his way around the savannah.
No, I bet you.
In between these particular photos, he wasn't so graceful.
I bet you in several days he had it all figured out.
Oh,
All right, Chris, we got the old infamous dry slot on us right now. So we're going to get a break here for a couple of hours without rain. But far from being over, temperatures right now, low to mid-50s. It's quite delightful when you do step outside. Now, as we put Future Track into motion, kind of similar timing as of yesterday. Get started here about 9, 10 o'clock. Take us through the afternoon and evening hours. Northeastern section of southwest Missouri. That's where we're going to get some high winds, even the possibility of some hail. And the rain lasting until Wednesday morning until we get dry slot number 2. But you'll also notice much cooler for the middle of the week.
Still not too bad. I'm looking forward to it. Michael, thank you so much. That is a look at this morning's top stories and weather. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the NFL had some major activity as quarterbacks have been shifted around from team to team, plus a school resource officer joins the cast of the school's musical, to the surprise of that cast. And do you find yourself cheering for the underdog? Well, I'll tell you why that is. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We've got more real news in the morning. We've got more of that when we come back.
Missouri Southern Lions split the first 2 games of a 3-game set against Washburn. Both those games decided by 1 run. Now the Lions won 10-9 on Saturday. Then the Ichabods, well, they won 8-7 on Sunday. Let's do the rubber match. 2 teams up early in the morning, finishing off the series before the rain hit yesterday. Cole Woods, he was great on the mound for Southern. You see, strikes out the first 6 batters he faced. Chayton Beck breaks the scoreless tie in the second. Fights that off in the right field. Here comes Tragan Parker, Lions up 1-0. Let's go to the 3rd inning. It's now 1-1. Beck back to work. Right field. Again, he finds Green. Case Tucker hustles around the score. Now Washburn airmails that one into the dugout, so Cole Robinson says, I think I will also score. Southern goes up 3-1. But once again, Washburn with an answer, tied 3-3 in the 6th. Trevor McCullum drills that one to center. One hops the fence, a ground rule double. Connor Scott scores. Gives the Ichabods their first lead, and they add to it after that as Washburn takes the game and the series. Final score 8-4.
This game, they got us yesterday in a close game, and today the score maybe wasn't indicative of how close it was up until the maybe the 6th or 7th inning. But I mean, Washburn's a good team, man, and we're competing hard, and if we get a couple things fall our way, I think maybe we could win one more game. These are hard games to win, and we got to do some things, some smaller things right in order to give us a better chance. And I think sometimes we make some careless errors, or however you want to describe it. We got to work on that and just do a little better job with the little things.
Missouri Southern softball was also at home as the Lions hosted a doubleheader against Minnesota State, aiming to avoid a 3rd straight loss. Mavericks, they've been pretty good. Enter the day ranked number 21 nationally. Sydney Nielsen, she was huge for Minnesota State in game 1. Solo home run for Nielsen. Oh, I hope you got it. Didn't crack the windshield though. She went 3 for 4, had 2 home runs, 1 cracked windshield, no lawsuits, 3 RBIs. Mavericks win in a shutout in game 1, 7-0. So in game 2, Lions tried to avoid that doubleheader sweep. And they actually got this game started, but then thank you, Mother Nature, as the game was canceled with no score in the 3rd inning due to the weather. So Missouri Southern now 15-12 this season and back in action with some sunshine in the forecast on Friday at Northeastern State. Already been a lot of quarterback movement in the NFL this offseason, and even some more yesterday. Atlanta Falcons are dealing Matt Ryan to the Colts in exchange for a 3rd-round pick. Ryan was the 3rd overall pick in Atlanta back in 2008, spent 14 years in the ATL, made the Pro Bowl 4 times, 1 Super Bowl appearance, league's MVP in 2016. Then after the trade, the Falcons signed Marcus Mariota to a 2-year deal. Mariota, the 2nd overall pick in 2015. Spent the last 2 years with the Raiders as Derek Carr's backup. And one more for you. Jameis Winston going back to New Orleans. Signed a 2-year deal with the Saints. Winston, 5-2 as the Saints starter last year before a knee injury ended his season. Finally, Coach of the Year awards for a pair of Pitt State coaches. PSU track and field head coach Kyle Rutledge named the Central Region Men's Indoor Track and Field Coach of the Year. Ben Barrows, the Men's Assistant Coach of the Year. These two led the Gorilla men to a third-place finish at the Indoor Nationals earlier this month. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, a Boeing 737 goes down in China. Officials investigating as to why. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. It's what you call a dry slot, and what happens is you get moisture on one side, moisture on the other side, and then if you happen to live in that neck of the woods, you get lucky. That's what we've got right now. We are in the midst of a Tuesday morning dry slot. That does not mean we're not going to get rain later. Heavy thunderstorm activity down to our southeast, and the majority of it staying out to the west as well. And you'll notice all those color codes through the state of Kansas. We actually are void of any watches, warnings, or advisories so far. Now, that certainly will be subject to change because as we get 9-10 a.m., we've got the reemergence of some rain. We're going to start in the mid-50s, and then as the rain continues to roll in from the south, we'll get a little south to northeasterly push. And look at this, carries us all the way through Tuesday night. That's why I think flooding is going to become an eventual concern here, because we will have additional rainfall throughout Wednesday morning as well. Remember, Wednesday also brings us the cold front as temperatures drop some 20 degrees, only topping out in the 40s tomorrow. Time now for our Something to Talk About. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page, our morning Instapoll. Beth Griffin is her name. Wears lots of hats these days. She's a school resource officer. She's a confidant to her students, and now a cast member in a recent high school musical. Check this out. We'll come back with our question.
Morning. Walking the Sunrise Mountain High School campus, it's easy to see school resource officer Beth Griffin's profile is on the rise.
Hi, Hunter. Hey, do you want to sing, buddy? It's Channel 15. This could be your chance.
She knows the students by name, and they certainly know hers, especially after her latest performance in a recent high school musical.
She showed up at our first rehearsal, our first dance rehearsal, and I was like, why is Officer Griffin here? Is someone in trouble? But then everyone was like, no, she's joining the show. She's gonna dance with us, and I was shocked.
Shocked because prior to her participation, most of these students were intimidated by the officer tasked with keeping order on campus.
I never knew Officer Griffin. She would come up to my lunch table sometimes and she would say stuff and I was like, oh my God, there's a police officer on my table.
Breaking down those barriers isn't easy, but little did they know the 15-year veteran with Peoria PD grew up dancing and performing in high school as well, jumping at the opportunity to participate in the school's production of Newsies.
It was an awesome opportunity to just embrace the school and have a positive interaction with so many kids.
That's gooder.
Not only did she help with choreography,
So it was really fun to hear her talk about like all the different dance terminology because it's not something you would expect to hear from her. She's an amazing dancer and it's so cool.
she also made sure to get butts in the seats, constantly promoting the show around campus.
She would go up to people and be like, you should come see the show. And we didn't have that exposure before.
It also exposed students to a different side of law enforcement.
Knowing that I'm putting these kids out into the community and getting voices that speak positive about law enforcement and what we're really about and why we're here and what we do, it's huge. The ripple effect of that could last for decades.
And based on those we spoke with today,
You can tell she just really cares about us and cares about the students.
that's just what it's doing.
Now that I know Officer Griffin is here for anyone, and I know she's like very trustworthy, and I could tell Officer Griffin anything, and I know I'd have a safe space.
Brings us to our Something to Talk About. Our question, have you ever participated in a school musical or play? Shout out to the cast of The Little Mermaid. Just recently wrapped up its run in the 4 states. You can connect to us via our Facebook page or go to komnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back with Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, March Madness is officially underway. Games of the college basketball tournament continue, and if you find yourself rooting for the underdog, a sports psychologist says there are reasons for that. Mandy Gaither has more on the science that makes your brain pull for certain teams.
March Madness is here. You may find yourself jumping on the underdog bandwagon, and your brain is what's driving you there, says Jamie Houle, a sports psychologist with the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center.
It's almost gratifying when folks that are supposed to win don't.
Houle says there's a science behind the desire to pull for the underdog. First, we can relate to them, even if we're not aware of it.
What it makes us believe is that maybe at some point we might be able to do something great, overcome some kind of odds that seem like overwhelming.
There's always an expectation that the best teams will win, but when that doesn't happen, Houle says we find joy in the unexpected.
When we see people who are really great mess up, it makes us go, okay, cool. Maybe I'm not that different than everybody else.
Many times fans root against a team as much as they root for one. Houle says that's our brain's way of wanting things to be fair.
We want justice, so we want things to be kind of equal, and when they're not equal, that doesn't really feel good to us.
Indianapolis on.
And finally, we often find an unexpected outcome to simply be more exciting.
We want chaos because it's kind of more fun to watch than the regular things we do every day.
Many of us cook with oil and may think it's a better alternative to butter, but some nutritionists are cautioning us about which oils we may want to stay away from. According to dietitians, some oils can harm the body and provoke imbalances in your digestive system. Sunflower and corn oil are full of fatty acids like omega-6, which can cause liver damage and inflammation. Soybean oil is also highly refined, which can increase the chance of developing heart disease. And lastly, coconut oil has high levels of medium-chain fatty acids, making it harder for the body to process it. Nutritionists suggest having a balanced intake of omega-3 and 6 fats in your foods to avoid health issues. A significant decrease in cancer screenings is concerning professionals of future death rates. Researchers from Nelson's programs in the American Cancer Society studied more than 700 screening centers nationwide and found 9 million Americans missed their routine screenings from September of 2020 to January of 2021, particularly in the case of colon cancer, where 81% of the facilities saw the biggest decline. Professionals fear an increase in cancer deaths in the upcoming years. Analysts recommend people get back on track with their appointments to avoid late diagnoses. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, a fatal accident in Missouri claims the life of one man.
Mother Nature going to give us a little Tuesday morning reprieve from the rain, but oh, there's more coming throughout our Tuesday. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, Joplin releases how much their data breach cost them.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning. Welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:32. I'm Chris Warner, and boy, I tell you, I think it's warmer this morning than it was when I went to bed last night.
Yeah, it's temperature-wise, not too. As a matter of fact, you're going to walk outside and you're going to be like, oh, it's nice, it's mild. Hey, it's not raining. We're good to go for the rest of the day. Not necessarily the case. Now, Chris, I took off the cloud cover just so we could discuss our dry slot. 3 things in play here. Number one, the fact that we are dry this morning. We carved out a little niche for us, the heavier rain staying down to our southeast. Number 2, you see the color codes throughout Kansas. We've also got some flood warnings that popped up in south central Missouri. None of it affecting our specific highlighted counties. Number 3, give you an idea of the storm track, just kind of a cheater, if you will, as far as where those storms are moving. So everything down to our southeast will continue to stay away from us. We'll pay attention to what develops out to the west and also, too, what formulates down to the south through the course of our Tuesday. 53 degrees over 7th and Rangeline, a whole bunch of temperatures ranging from about 50 to 54 right now. But as we get ready for the rest of the day, we go, how much rain can we absorb after last night? Because that yellow right there, that's that 2-inch mark. So anywhere from, I've seen as high as 2.8 inches, everybody easily cruising across the inch mark. And so even though our ground was able to absorb it for the time being, anything else probably going to result in some flood watches later for this week because our rain is far from over. We'll begin to develop later on this morning and carry us all the way through the afternoon and evening and into Wednesday. Moves in from the south with that Gulf moisture. Then for this afternoon, watch this thing regenerate, backfill on itself and move instead of from south to north, west to east. And so that's why our accumulation numbers are probably going to be in excess of 3 inches by the time Wednesday is all said and done. Also, too, Wednesday, winter coat time, down into the 40s. But then, you know what? Thursday and Friday, we begin our rebound, we warm back up, and we get some sunshine.
I'm in love with that rebound too. I mean, those temperatures are looking absolutely phenomenal, and I love that spring is here. I'm so done with winter.
And you made a great point yesterday. We get this rain, we get this warm up into the weekend. Watch how quickly that grass turns green like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm all about that action.
Today.
I'm all about that action, boss.
So
I have an intern with me today. I brought an intern because what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have your intern on. You don't want to bring an intern in, folks, when it's like, you know, it's calm and it's 40 degrees because they don't learn anything.
No.
So what you do is you grab your intern when you know you got some thunderstorms on the way. I've been putting a kid to work, and so what we do is he is actually our runner, and I look at him and I go see if it's raining. And he runs outside, he comes back in, he's like, no, Michael, it's not raining. I'm like, great job.
Did you see if it was raining?
No. So let's go see. Come on.
This is my youngest. He had to come with me this morning, and I tell you, he's having himself the time.
Yeah, you want to go see if it's raining with me?
You want to go with Michael and see if it's raining? No? Here, go check out what he's doing. Look, he's going to show you a really cool
see if it's raining, you and me.
I promise. Michael, thank you, and thank you all for being with us this morning. Getting back to today's news, an Adrian Mann is dead after a crash in Vernon County. Authorities say 69-year-old Charles Schutte was riding a motorcycle on I-49 about 14 miles north of Nevada when he hit the guardrail. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. 8 months after the city of Joplin suffered a data breach, we're learning the cost of that breach. In July of 2021, the city says someone gained access to the city's systems, disrupting phones, computers, and online applications. In addition to certain employee health plan files, some customer data was also impacted by the breach. Now, Koam has obtained a document detailing the cost of the breach. The city of Joplin paid a ransom for the files that the hackers managed to take from the city. The majority of that cost is covered by insurance. A total of 4 firms were paid for services related to what the city calls a network security incident. Total cost of the breach was more than $635,000. For a full breakdown of the cost, you can find it in this story at KOAMNewsNow.com. Next month, area voters will head to the polls to decide some elections and ballot measures. That includes McDonald County, where voters will choose whether to pass a $21 million school bond. Now, the bond would pay for the remodeling of some school areas, including classrooms and a nurse's station. It would also fund the construction of 6 storm shelters at various schools in the district.
One, they're going to provide a safe place for the students to go in case of an emergency. They're going to provide a safe place for the staff to go in case of an emergency out here. And then thirdly, they're going to provide a safe place for community members to go because these will be open to the public.
The election will take place on April 5th. A public meeting on the proposal will be at 6:30 tonight at the McDonald County High School Performing Arts Center. Also in McDonald County, some students are raising some green by going green. Students at Rocky Comfort Elementary are planting more than 10,000 plants in their greenhouse. And once the plants have grown, they'll be sold as part of the school's annual plant sale, with that money going towards school improvement projects.
I think they need to know where everything comes from, their food. I think it's important that they have hands-on opportunities to be able to plant plants and see like the fruits of their labor through agriculture.
The seeds for this project were funded by a grant from Walmart. A Southwest Missouri restaurant is bringing British cuisine to Carthage. London Calling Pasty Company is a restaurant in Springfield that specializes in British food, including pasties, which I said yesterday is pastries. It's really pasties. They're similar to pies, but they can include fruit or meats. On Monday, they brought their food truck to the King Cash Saver in Carthage to give people there a taste.
The difference between this food, there is nothing like it in this area. What we make, there's different variations of it. So you can get a calzone, but that's slightly different. It's a different dough. This is a handheld pot pie, so golden flaky pastry, and inside we're very versatile with meat.
The London Calling restaurant is located at 836 North Glenstone Avenue in Springfield. Michael Hayslip now with checking that forecast.
There's our 7-day. We'll work backwards here as our temperatures today will be up in the 60s, but you'll notice the old thunder and lightning on there. Well, here's why. Even though we get dry slotted this morning, we're going to be right back at it for the afternoon all the way through the evening. High wind and even the possibility of hail for our far northeastern counties. When we talk about our severe thunderstorm risk map, you'll notice that high category down on the Gulf Coast, so luckily we avoid that, but this is the northeastern counties that I was talking about that will be in jeopardy throughout the rest of the night.
Michael, thank you. This morning we're discussing school theater. There's a school resource officer who wears many hats, from confidant to the school's resource officer. There's a lot that Beth Griffin can do. Now she can add to her list as the cast member of the school's musical. Now, Beth grew up dancing and being in productions herself, so for her, this wasn't just going above and beyond, it was something she wanted to do. That brings us to our something to talk about. Have you ever participated in a school musical or play?
Split down the middle right now, Chris. 50% say yes, 50% say no.
I can't say that I have ever participated in either. Now, I probably could have done a play, but
I did tech theater,
I can't
so
say.
I mean, while I was a part of it, I wasn't on stage, but thoroughly enjoyed my time and learned a whole lot.
I don't doubt it. So we do want to hear from you. You can vote right now at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or you can, scan the KOAM app Facebook QR code, or just check out the app.
Yeah.
Yes, that I am right here. That is a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. From toys to tattoos, how these are helping out efforts in Ukraine. Plus, Ukrainian zoos receive help from a European organization to keep running during these war-torn times. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, officials in China say a Boeing 737 passenger jet with 132 people on board has crashed in the mountains in South China. In the country's worst air disaster in nearly a decade, Riley Carlson reports.
Rescue crews raced to the area where a China Eastern flight is believed to have crashed in the mountains. Smoke and flames were reportedly coming from the crash site. Local media reports say hundreds of firefighters were sent to the scene, but there's been no sign of survivors. The flight was en route from Kunming to Guangzhou and went down near Wuzhou. Information on the plane tracking website Flight Radar 24 stopped transmitting just over an hour into the flight. The plane, a Boeing 737-800, was delivered to China Eastern in 2015 and had been flying more than 6 years. The airline says the cause of the crash is under investigation and expressed deep condolences for those who died. It made its website homepage black and white after the crash. China's air safety record has improved dramatically in recent years thanks to major investments in airplanes and airports and strict safety measures. The last deadly commercial passenger jet crash in China was in 2010. Riley Carlson, CBS News, London.
Chinese state media reports all of the 737-800s in China Eastern's fleet have been grounded. Aviation experts say it's unusual to ground an entire fleet of planes unless there's evidence of a problem with the model. Boeing says it's gathering more information on the crash. The European Association of Zoos and Aquaria says it has raised over 500,000 euros to help operations at Ukrainian zoos impacted by Russia's invasion. The donations come after local Ukrainian zoos, including the Mykolaiv Zoo, posted online pleas for help. Now, last week, the director of that zoo, Vladimir Topici, appealed for help on Facebook, asking supporters to buy e-tickets online. He also decided to stay on site and help the stressed animals. Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs tweeted Friday the zoo had been bombed since the beginning of the war and its staff evacuated, some of whom went to fight the invasion. People from around the world are showing their support for Ukraine in any way they can. The Chicago dance group is helping some of Ukraine's youngest victims by temporarily taking their minds off the war and onto the dance floor. Here's Adriana Diaz.
This may look like a typical day of remote learning, pets and all.
They're telling about their day or showing us their pets, which is incredible given the circumstances.
But these are the circumstances. The children are in Ukraine. We agreed not to show their faces for their safety.
Palec,
In Chicago, Nastia Latoska and Tanya Korapis are part of the Hromovetsia Ukrainian Dance Ensemble, which is using dance to distract.
Our responsibility is to put a smile on our face, pretend like nothing's happening for those 45 minutes, and make it strictly about the dance lesson. That's it. Okay.
Some spend their nights in bomb shelters, fear they try to forget,
4 razy Spider-Man, tak?
with moves like the Spider-Man.
We get joy from seeing them being joyful, but I get satisfaction knowing what kind of parents they have, because you've seen the strength and resolve and resilience of the Ukrainian people and their patriotism.
The dance school is in a Chicago neighborhood officially called Ukrainian Village.
We want peace!
When we visited, even American kids were rallying, fighting for these children.
They're our anchor of hope. They are our light. They remind us of what our purpose is.
Adrian Diaz, CBS News, Chicago.
Let's look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We're going to be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. An Adrian, Missouri man is dead after a crash in Vernon County. Authorities say 69-year-old Charles Schutte was riding a motorcycle on I-49 about 14 miles north of Nevada when he hit the guardrail. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. 8 months after the city of Joplin suffered a data breach, we're learning the cost of that breach. In July of 2021, the city says someone gained access to the city's systems, disrupting phones, computers, and online applications. In addition to certain employee health plan files, some customer data was also impacted. KOAM obtained a document detailing the cost of the breach. The city of Joplin paid a ransom for the files, which the hackers managed to take. The majority of that cost covered by insurance. A total of 4 firms were paid for services related to what the city calls a network security incident. Total of the cost of the breach was more than $635,000. For a full breakdown of that cost, you can go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Joplin City Council met Monday night. A number of people in the audience spoke out in support of the Joplin Police Department. Some also spoke about increasing wages for Joplin police officers. They compared Joplin police wages with wages for officers in surrounding areas. They also discussed finding ways to get funds increased for the department for additional officers. A Southwest Missouri restaurant bringing British cuisine to Carthage. London Calling Pasty Company is a restaurant in Springfield, specializes in British food, which includes pasties, which are similar to pies, but they can include fruit or meats. On Monday, they brought their food truck to the King Cash Saver in Carthage to give people there a taste. And that's a check of today's top headlines, news you need to know before you head out the door. The Russian invasion of Ukraine entering its 4th week as troops escalate the conflict. Brian, why don't you go stand over there by Mr. Ron, please? Intensifying their attacks on residential areas. Sal Giangrasso has more on the destruction and how people around the world are coming together in unique ways to show support and raise funds for Ukrainians in need.
Russian troops blasting neighborhoods surrounding the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv Sunday as their assault on civilian areas continues. And while the damage from roughly 4 weeks of war is immense, Ukrainian troops aren't backing down. But around the world, millions are looking for ways to lend a helping hand to Ukrainians in need, and custom toy company Citizen Brick is doing just that. Their headquarters outside of Chicago is busy making toy replicas of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and crafting Molotov cocktails out of plastic. Through the sales of their figurines, Citizen Brick has already made at least $145,000, which they are donating to a charity supporting war efforts in Ukraine. As news of their work spread to the very people they want to help,
and started getting pings on the phone, and we saw that it was being reproduced on the Ukrainian Instagram page, which was kind of a shock. And suddenly we were getting a lot of followers from Instagram, from the Ukraine, and people messaging us, and it was just kind of overwhelming.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian tattoo artists are seeing an influx in customers wanting to show off their national pride, inking clients with special patriotic symbols and imagery.
It is a very important phase for our country, which must go down in history, which must be passed on to future generations.
Now, but the train doesn't stop at tattoos. Other Ukrainian artists are also pitching and printing motivational messages on the posters for troops to hang up across some of the hardest hit cities. We're going to be right back with the final check of your forecast. Coming up, a fatal accident in Missouri claims the life of one man.
Got a dry slot for this Tuesday morning. It's not going to last long, however. We'll break down our time frame and look at how much rain we've already picked up from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, Joplin releases how much their data breach cost them.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning. Welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is not 5 a.m. It is now 6 a.m., I think. It is? It is.
I'll buy that.
I don't know. I'm Chris Warner, I think. We're going to have those stories and a lot more coming up here. We first go to Michael for a quick check of that forecast. How are things looking?
Here's the great thing, Chris. You got to be on the road today. You are in luck. What was that? Hold on. It's early. My eyes deceive me. No, Chris, if you got to be on the road today, really no matter what direction you're taking off, you're good to go. And we've got what is called, quite frankly, a dry slot. It's exactly what it is. Pushes right up through us. We luck out, got the rain out to the west, down to the southeast. Heavy thunderstorm activity. But here's the great thing about it. We've got a couple hours before the rain gets back on us. I don't want you to think it's done by any means, however. As we look over 7th and Rangeline, very comfortable outside. 53 degrees right now, anywhere from about 50 to 54 is where we stand. No watches, warnings, or advisories. With that being said, I think that's going to be short-lived because the additional rainfall that we see adds on to the numbers that we have. Anything that you see in the yellow, that's in excess. That's 2+ inches of rain. So everybody easily cruising from about 1 to 2.8. And 2.8 is about the most that we picked up. Found that right there along I-49, just outside of Lamar, was where we saw the most accumulation. Trough digging still all the way down to Mexico, grabbing that Gulf moisture. That's a line of thunderstorms that goes from the Gulf all the way almost to the Great Lakes. And eventually this out here to the west is going to collapse upon us. Instead of moving off to the north, it's going to want to take more of a west to east motion. Temperatures today, 60s, but we know we've got rain headed our way, and here we go. After a little morning round, we backfill for the afternoon and evening hours. Up here to the northwest, or northeast, that is going to be our highest threat for high winds and also even the possibility of some hail. Follow that up with a cold front. They've got snow right now in western Kansas, so as everything moves from west to east, that really drops our temperatures down to the 40s for tomorrow, close to the freezing mark for Wednesday and the Thursday, but then look at this. Great rebound as we head into the weekend, get some sunny skies, push up to the 60s and 70s by the time the weekend's over.
I like that forecast. A brief cool down, but then spring gets back here very rapidly. Michael, thank you so much. A crash in Vernon County takes the life of an Adrian, Missouri man. Authorities say 69-year-old Charles Schutte was riding a motorcycle on I-49 about 14 miles north of Nevada when he hit the guardrail. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. We're now getting a picture of the cost of the data breach suffered by the city of Joplin 8 months ago. In July of 2021, the city says someone gained access to the city's systems, disrupting phones, computers, and online applications. In addition to certain employee health plan files, some customer data was also impacted by the breach. KOAM has obtained a document detailing the cost of the breach. The city of Joplin paid a ransom for the files the hackers managed to take from the city. The majority of that cost is covered by insurance. A total of 4 firms were paid for services related to what the city calls a network security incident. The total cost of the breach was more than $635,000. For a full breakdown of the cost, check out this story at KOAMNewsNow.com. Joplin City Council met last night and the police department was on the mind of the public. Some advocated for increasing wages for Joplin police officers, and they compared Joplin police wages with wages for officers in surrounding areas and discussed ways to get funds increased for the department for additional officers.
We've gotten in return is, let's talk about it. Let's do a study, or let's do another study, because it's been too long since we did the first study. And I feel like it has not been a priority for this council. They seem to be more interested in giving us pretty buildings. I like pretty buildings. I think that's great, but that's number 10 on the list, not number 1. This is number 1.
Monday night's council meeting also included a presentation about plans for Memorial Hall. Officials will give that same presentation again at the Joplin Chamber of Commerce on Thursday at 10 a.m. Missouri lawmakers are moving a bill through legislation that would change several election laws. The legislation, which cleared a House committee, would require photo ID to vote and hand-marked paper ballots. The bill would also make it illegal for voting machines to be connected to the internet, and it would allow registered voters to change their registered address in person on Election Day, among other changes. The bill will now go to the full House for a discussion, but a hearing is not currently set. Next month, area voters will get a chance to decide on some elections and ballot measures. That includes McDonald County, where voters will choose whether to pass a $21 million school bond. The bond would pay for remodeling of some school areas, including classrooms and a nurse's station. It also fund the construction of 6 storm shelters at various schools in the district.
One, they're going to provide a safe place for the students to go in case of an emergency. They're going to provide a safe place for the staff to go in case of an emergency out here. And then thirdly, they're going to provide a safe place for community members to go, because these will be open to the public.
The election will take place on April 5th. A public meeting on the proposal will be at 6:30 tonight at McDonald County High School Performing Arts Center. Despite slower than expected progress from the Russian military on the ground, the air assaults in Ukraine continue. There's also mounting evidence of the commission of war crimes by Russian forces. New satellite photos showed the destruction of the port city of Mariupol, including the wrecked theater that may have been sheltering more than 1,000 people. As crippling sanctions continue to crush the Russian economy, the White House has issued a warning that Russia may turn to cyber warfare in retaliation and that U.S. businesses and infrastructure could be targeted. We'll have more on the war in Ukraine in our next half hour. Andrew Lloyd Webber was born in London, England on this date in 1948. Andrew Lloyd Webber was a prolific composer and songwriter and musical impresario. Over the course of his life, he composed 13 musicals, and several of his songs have been widely recorded and woven into the American fabric. He began his collaboration with Tim Rice in 1965, and their first notable venture was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat in 1968. It was followed by the rock opera Jesus Christ Superstar in 1971, which became the longest-running musical in British theatrical history. Webber also wrote Cats, Evita, The Phantom of the Opera, and School of Rock. His portfolio also includes 7 Tonys, 3 Grammys, and an Oscar. Hey, you know what time it is? It's 6:07, and that's that's Cats. That's Andrew Lloyd Webber.
I thought when you said it was 6:07, I thought you were going to say it's time that you close your eyes, drew back the curtain to see for certain that the dream was true. Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
I've seen Cats once, and it's been so long ago. Really, all I can remember is Jellicle Cats.
Okay.
And I've watched Jesus Christ Superstar more than once.
Evita?
More than once. Not Evita. Not Phantom of the Opera. I guess
for some reason, the Hayslip household, as I grew up as a child, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. And I'm going, not the new version that people may know from the movies. The original musical, yes, I can still recite that to this day because my mother just played it nonstop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, my brother had a Toto 4 record, and I played that nonstop. So I had Rosanna pretty well memorized. That was my favorite song back then.
No, I got you.
You know?
And by the way, for those of you that ever have a chance to see Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, do not miss it. It is a tremendous performance. 7-day forecast with a little rain later this afternoon. Actually kick in about 9-10 a.m. Temperatures today are going to be great, but it's going to be a wet one. Rains all throughout today into tonight. Wednesday also ushers in a cold front, highs only in the 40s. Now, Chris, the excitement that we have in the studio is for an excellent reason, and I want to tell you why. The little one and I were just in the break room with Betty.
Oh,
and folks, when we introduce you to Betty, you're immediately going to fall in love, and we're going to find Betty a home this morning.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
And that's the thing, is you're going to fall in love so fast that Betty will have a home before our show is over.
He introduced me to Betty, and I'm like, that's it. Not one, but 2 thumbs up, Betty's getting a home.
2 thumbs up. Is Betty getting a home?
What?
Yes.
Yes.
Am I on camera?
Yes, you are. See, you're right there.
Folks, this is called family and live television. And if you don't enjoy this, I can't put a smile on your face any better on a Tuesday morning.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes they just have to come with you. And he was asleep at first, and now he's
Hey, can I blow the clock and say something serious here?
Sure.
No, like in all seriousness, folks, like this is a family atmosphere that we have at KOAM. I'm dead serious when I say that. My kids grew up in this studio. It warms my heart to see other kids in this studio, and it played a large role in the fact of why I left my second job to come back here, because of the way we treat each other like family.
Yeah, it really is, and having him here has certainly been an experience for me. I hope it's been an experience for you guys at home.
It's awesome, dude. It's
a
awesome.
whopping 5 years old, and he's going to replace me when I retire at some point. So.
And Betty.
There we go. Michael, thank you so much. That's a look at today's top stories and weather. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Jasmine Kyle, director of the SEK Humane Society, is stopping by studio to talk about pet adoption and bringing a special friend with her, as we mentioned. Plus, the Senate kicked off day one of the historic confirmation hearings for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. And a new study finds a saliva test is quicker and safer than nasal swabs. We'll tell you why. You're watching KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, a Florida Highway Patrol officer is grateful to the drivers who pulled over to help him subdue a man resisting arrest on Friday. Take a look at this dash cam video. The trooper can be seen talking to a man identified as Alexander Hernandez Delgado. Delgado punches the officer as he tries to put him in the patrol car. As you can see, there are several cars, including this semi-truck, pulled over to assist. The officer, along with the help of the civilians, was able to overpower Delgado and put him under arrest. According to the criminal report affidavit, he's charged with battery of a law enforcement officer and resisting with violence. He's currently in jail. No word yet from his public defender on the incident. In his report, the officer said he suffered a bloody nose. Several Connecticut police departments are doing what they can to help Ukraine fight against Russia. They have gathered 200 bulletproof vests and helmets to ship to Ukrainian forces. Fairfield police say a total of 13 departments donated gear they were no longer using. Industry standards in the U.S. means vests get replaced every 5 years, so these are still in good condition but weren't getting used. They will go to the Ukrainian American Coordinating Council. From there, an organization on the ground licensed by the State Department and Department of Defense will distribute them across Ukraine. An historic day on Capitol Hill as President Joe Biden looks to put the first African-American woman on the Supreme Court. If confirmed, Ketanji Brown Jackson would fill the seat vacated by retiring Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer. Chris Nguyen reports from Capitol Hill.
Ketanji Brown Jackson in the hot seat for the first day of confirmation hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee.
This hearing of the Senate Judiciary Committee will come to order.
If confirmed, she'll become the first black woman to serve on our nation's highest court.
You are living witness to the fact that in America, all is possible.
Monday, offering a chance for President Joe Biden's Supreme Court pick to introduce herself to the panel, and an opportunity for all 22 members of the committee to deliver opening statements.
Her nomination, pending a confirmation by the Senate, will bring us one step closer to having a Supreme Court that is more reflective of our nation.
I am hoping that we can have a hearing that's respectful, that's informative, that's challenging.
The real test will come Tuesday when questioning begins. Jackson is no stranger to the process, though. As a federal judge, this is her fourth time sitting before the committee. Democrats praising her extensive experience on the bench.
If you were confirmed, you would be the first ever federal public defender to sit on the court.
While Republicans look to grill Jackson about her judicial record.
I want to know about your judicial philosophy, because people on the left, the far extreme part of the left, believe that you were the best bet.
The second day of confirmation hearings for Ketanji Brown Jackson, President Biden's nominee to be an Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, are expected to begin this morning. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are joined with Jasmine Kyle, or not joined with her. We're joined by Jasmine Kyle, director of the SEK Humane Society. This is Betty. Tell us a little bit about Betty, because she's just so precious. Hi, Betty.
Yeah, so this is Betty. Betty is an 8-year-old lab mix, and as you can see, she is sweet as sugar and honey. Betty, unfortunately, has been in our facility for a much longer period of time since of her age. A lot of people, unfortunately, will pass up senior dogs dogs, and as you can see, she does not act like 8 years old.
No.
She honestly acts like she's 2. She has a lot of energy, loves to be outside. She's even been on several school educational trips as well. She does great with people. She is just looking for a home with no other animals. Thank you very much. She knows how to sit and shake on command as well. Thank you very much. She's very much more into, she's food motivated, but most importantly, she seeks human companionship. Again and again, she is sponsored too on top of that. She has no adoption fee.
That's fantastic.
She's spayed, she's microchipped, and she's up to date on all of her vaccinations. She will go into foster care for about a week with whoever is interested in her, and then after a week, we'll finalize adoption.
See, why not take Betty home? I mean, look at her. Oh, hi. Hello, Betty.
But-
You're as big as I am.
Right.
You are as big as I am, aren't you?
And she'll sleep on the couch with you. Don't get me wrong. She will absolutely sleep on the couch with you. And that's the one thing with adult dogs, right? I know we're getting to puppy and kitten season, but with an adult dog, especially seniors, they've gone through the ropes. You don't have to worry about puppy teething or potty training.
Right.
This dog in particular has worked with multiple families, multiple school functions. She knows the ropes. She just needs somebody to give her a chance and show them that she will be their forever companion.
And see, and I'm telling you, I think by the end of our show, somebody's going to want to take home Betty because, I mean, I can't get over how precious she is. And as you already know, my youngest is here, and she's done great with him, and he's done great with her. So that's, I mean, if you're looking for a great puppy, I call them puppies. She's a puppy.
Yeah.
She'll always be a puppy no matter what. And Jasmine, I understand too, you've got another event coming up, something called Egg My Yard. What's that all about?
Yes, sir. So yeah, that is our Easter egg fundraiser event, where early Easter morning from 7 to 8, we, myself and a few volunteers, we go out and we hide eggs as a fundraiser to the SEK Humane Society. All the eggs are pre-filled, of course. We even work with food allergies as well. We're just delivering to Pittsburgh and Frontenac areas. 25 eggs for $25 or 40 or 50 eggs for 40. I only have 10 spots left for this event. We'll be posting that on our Facebook page today. It has my contact information, but if you would like to be a part of this event, please contact us because spots are filling up fast. We originally had a deadline of April 9th, but it looks like we're going to be completely full by the end of this month, which is amazing. We love that.
I was going to say, I mean, what does that tell you about the community support for the Humane Society?
We love it. And especially, this was a kind of a new one for us to do. When we first started this, we were like, you know, we'll do maybe a few hundred eggs. And then we got to 1,000 really, really quickly. So it's something that not only is a fundraiser for us, but this is how we can also interact with our community directly in a really new, fun and interactive way. Because some of the comments, you know, of course, at any animal shelter that we'll get is it's too hard to come out sometimes, and we absolutely understand that. So supporting us by this fun fundraiser or doing a bake sale with us, that is so huge. So don't ever think that there's not something you can't do for a nonprofit, because we're creative.
I know a few weekends ago you all had the chili feed.
Yes.
And you know, when I learned at first how long that had been going on and just how much money that manages to raise, I mean, it's incredible how the Pittsburgh community supports the SEK Humane Society. And it's not just Pittsburgh; it seems to be the entire region really comes out and supports you guys.
We're very blessed, and so are our animals. And especially now, hopefully, knock on wood, everything looks to be going in a much better direction for 2022. We are super excited with some new changes that we're going to be bringing to the future to the public and some new activities. So we cannot wait to bring back our fundraisers, especially like Bark in the Park and our outdoor ones, so we can see everybody again. Because not only do our animals miss it, our staff miss seeing people too.
Oh, I know, and the pandemic's really taken its toll, especially on nonprofits. So being able to get back out there and get to fundraising again has got to be exciting and challenging. You know, at the same time, you've had this little break, so.
Absolutely.
Well, Jasmine, thank you so much. Again, this is Betty. As Jasmine mentioned, she is sponsored, which means no adoption fee. She is ready to go home right now. She may be 8 years old, but like Jasmine says, she's what? She acts like she's 2. She is full of energy. And of course, do not forget Egg My Yard coming up as well. An excellent fundraiser for the Humane Society. Well, Jasmine, thank you so much for stopping by. Betty, thank you for stopping by. Yes, thank you. We have got a lot more news coming your way right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, every year the CDC says about 6,000 babies in the United States are born with Down syndrome. the result of having an extra chromosome. Babies with Down syndrome can also have heart defects at birth. Mandy Gaither has one family's fight to save their baby after being told he may not make it.
Before Weston Hendershot was born, his parents were blindsided. First told their baby boy would have Down syndrome, then learned he also had a heart defect.
You have all of the worst thoughts going through your head, will our little guy make it? Will we see him be born?
The parents say doctors weren't able to answer those questions either, but in October 2020, Weston was born at Cleveland Clinic Children's. Still, his heart was struggling.
The heart condition is, life or death. So the more you can get knowledge for yourself, the better.
Weston's doctors did an echocardiogram, which is a graphic outline of the heart's movement.
To demonstrate signs of pulmonary hypertension or elevated pressures on the right side of the heart.
Weston's doctor says that's common for babies born with Down syndrome. In fact, he says about 40 to 50% of babies with the condition will have heart problems. 6 months after he was born, Weston went through surgery at Cleveland Clinic to repair his heart.
He is thriving at 17 months. He has 100% heart repair.
Weston's parents didn't know heart problems were common in babies with Down syndrome. That's why his mom says getting an echocardiogram is key. It let them know of the problem. While doctors continue to follow Weston's progress, his future is bright.
Bye-bye.
Right. Purpose of World Down Syndrome Day is to raise awareness about the condition and also urge people around the world to advocate for full inclusion for those with Down syndrome. A new study in the Journal of American Medicine finds COVID-19 may double severe complications in pregnancy, and that includes preterm delivery. It's a study that also found pregnant patients are 3 times more likely to experience blood clots, 2.5 times more likely to die as a result of conditions like acute respiratory distress and sepsis. German researchers say anyone who's recovered from moderate or severe COVID-19 has a higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Studies have found COVID-19 can attack the pancreas, and that is where insulin is made. Saliva testing for COVID-19 quicker and safer than nasal swabs. Oh, there's going to be a bunch of kids happy to hear that. That is according to a new study out of the University of Maryland. Researchers found saliva is better at detecting infection before the onset of symptoms. They also say saliva testing safer for patients and healthcare workers because there's no need for close contact and patients won't cough or sneeze because of a nasal swab. That is a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Coming up, a motorcycle crash in Vernon County takes the life of an Adrian, Missouri man.
Rain, dry sliding for the time being, but we've got it to the west and down to the southeast, and eventually we're going to have a wet Tuesday. All the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, 8 months later, we're now starting to see just how much the city of Joplin paid for a data breach.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning. Welcome to the KOAM Morning News. If you can see the little clock down there, it is now 6:32. I'm Chris Warner, and it's been rainy and it's been fun in this studio.
So the best description I could give from you, I was talking to my kids yesterday, and the best description I could give, and I said I'm going to say this on air, was yuck. When I looked at the forecast, it's like yuck. That's why I need something to put like a little light in my life. That's why I love our news assistant.
We have a great one out here.
We do. Our Skywatch Storm Tracker 4. Come here. Don't go anywhere because we got. Hold on. I want to show you something. Right down here, we got flood. No. You stand there, and then look down here where my finger is. See that? Yeah. You know what that is? Yeah. It's a flood watch. It just popped up down there in Delaware County, far southern portion of Delaware County. That's our first watch that we've had this morning. Folks, this is my new intern. We're breaking them in. And so when these pop up, we want him on top of stuff, so he handles it like that, lickety-split. Now, you notice we are in a dry slot. So travel conditions, do you think they're going to be bad? No, they're not. He's on it. All right? So our morning drive is going to be fine, but eventually we are going to pick up rain. And here's why we're going to end up with extensive flood watches by the time it's said and done, because all this yellow right here, That's in excess of 2 inches. Some of that as much as 2.8 inches right there in Lamar, right on I-49. Now, as we transition into our temperatures, mid-50s, very comfortable. You can tell he doesn't even have a coat on because he doesn't need one right now. One thing that he will make sure that he has for the rest of the day, he will not leave this station without an umbrella because the rains are coming. And once it begins to roll in right here, it's going to backfill right behind him out to the west. As it moves from west to east, colder temperatures out here in central Kansas eventually sweep through. So our rain totals easily exceed 3 inches. Our temperatures then steadily drop to the point where we're going to be looking at 43 for a high tomorrow. Now here's the good thing about tomorrow. Our rain will finally subside tomorrow evening. After that, back up into the 50s and 60s as we head into the weekend, a whole lot of sunshine. You think it's going to be a nice weekend? Yeah. Yep, darn right. 73 on Sunday, Chris.
I'm looking forward to this weekend. I know he is too, because that means he'll get to go outside and play and have some fun. And
fist bump. Yeah, that's right.
He's
that's how we roll in the Skywatch Weather Center.
This is going to be his future career, guys. So make sure you're watching for him in another 15 years or so.
Don't you take my job. You wait for me to retire. Are we clear? Yeah. Thought so.
Michael, thank you so much. We're back to 4-State News. A crash in Vernon County takes the life of an Adrian, Missouri man. Authorities say 69-year-old Charles Schutte was riding a motorcycle on I-49 about 14 miles north of Nevada when he hit the guardrail. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. We're now getting a picture of the cost of the data breach suffered by the city of Joplin 8 months ago. In July 2021, the city says someone gained access to the city's systems, disrupting phones, computers, and online applications. In addition to certain employee health plan files, some customer data was also impacted by the breach. KOAM has obtained a document detailing the cost of the breach. The city of Joplin paid a ransom for the files the hackers managed to take from the city. The majority of that cost is covered by insurance. A total of 4 firms were paid for services related to what the city calls a network security incident. The total cost of the breach was more than $635,000. For a full breakdown of the cost, check out this story at KOAMNewsNow.com. VFW Post 534 held its Veterans Service Officer event. This event helps veterans who are looking to make claims through Veteran Affairs, and it gets started on paperwork and help them find the right resources to do that. It also helps those who may not know what to do or where to start and puts those individuals in touch with an accredited Veterans Service Officer.
We are here to help any veteran in need, whether they've served in a wartime or in peacetime. If they need help, we help as best we can with them, call in resources if we need.
Now, Post 534 has been serving the veterans in the community for 90 years now, and they look to continue doing that. Nearly a month into its invasion, Russian forces are continuing their air assault on major Ukrainian cities despite making little progress on the ground. Now there's concern Russia may turn some attention to U.S. companies in response to crushing sanctions. Elise Preston has the details.
The White House is warning that Russia may wage cyber attacks against businesses and critical infrastructure in the U.S.
The magnitude of Russia's cyber capacity is fairly consequential.
Addressing CEOs at a business roundtable, President Biden called on them to take precautions.
And I would respectfully suggest it's a patriotic obligation for you to invest as much as you can in making sure.
The potential attacks come as Russia has stalled in its invasion of Ukraine.
Flummoxed, they've been frustrated. They have failed to achieve a lot of their objectives on the ground.
Pentagon spokesman John Kirby says the U.S. has seen clear evidence that Russian forces are committing war crimes. The port city of Mariupol has been largely cut off by the Russians, but new satellite photos show the destruction, including the wrecked theater that may have been sheltering more than 1,000 people. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky paid tribute to 96-year-old Boris Romanchenko, a Holocaust survivor who was killed by a strike in Kharkiv last week. On Monday, in Russian-controlled Kherson, troops fired stun grenades and gunshots to disperse pro-Ukrainian protesters. And in the capital city of Kyiv, the result of this furious blast Sunday night destroyed a shopping mall, leaving multiple people dead. Elise Preston, CBS News.
The United Nations General Assembly is expected to vote this week on a resolution demanding Russia stop its attacks. That resolution is also expected to denounce Moscow for creating a dire humanitarian situation and urge access for workers. The song says, "We don't need no education, but we want you to have some anyway." You see, on this day in 1980, Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall started a 4-week run at #1 on the U.S. singles chart. The track, which was the group's only U.S. chart topper, was also a #1 in the UK, Germany, Australia, Italy, and many other countries around the world. Pink Floyd received a Grammy nomination for Best Performance by a Rock Duo or Group for the song, but lost to Bob Seger's Against the Wind. But don't feel too bad for Pink Floyd's loss, as a single, Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 has gone on to sell over 4 million copies, while The Wall has gone on to sell over 30 million copies worldwide. That is an awful lot of Pink Floyd. My mom would never have admitted it, but
Really?
she was a hippie. I mean, growing up, she was straight and narrow, but
Yeah.
she was a hippie.
She was a hippie.
She enjoyed Pink Floyd. I was told she had, a Pontiac Firebird back in the 70s.
This is great.
She put her own sound system into. So she's true blood hippie, and because of her, my interest in music are extraordinarily varied.
That is tremendous. As a matter of fact, I don't know what the family schedule is, but just in case you're curious, we could, if you want to, we could always strike up Wizard of Oz and grab the vinyl and spend an afternoon.
Yeah. Well, my wife just bought me a record player for my birthday.
Oh, perfect!
And
We're doing it at your house.
She bought me the Beatles one on record. I had that when it came out on CD, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And she bought it for me on vinyl. And boy, there is nothing quite like putting that record on there, setting that needle down, and listening to it, and just, it's a moment of
Isn't it something else?
It's a moment of
I mean, as nice as it is to have things remastered and get a new sound to them and additional tracks and everything, there's a lot to be said for going back to the original.
Oh, yeah.
And even when you just drop the needle and you hear that.
Honestly, it's almost the best part, is just hearing that sound. I mean, I told you before, I played that Toto 4 album I don't know how many times, and my parents had a lot of records, so having a record player again really takes me back.
So as much as we were talking about The Wall, Chris and I will be striking up Dark Side of the Moon, Wizard of Oz. If we're going to indoctrinate him young, he'll be fine. You'll enjoy it. You love the Wizard of Oz part, put it that way. Our 7-day forecast is going to bring us a little bit of rain showers for this afternoon. Now, as we get into the afternoon and evening hours, up to the northeastern portion of the 4 states, we actually have the increased threat of, number 1, high winds, but number 2, hail, as our rain totals right now are already pushing mostly in excess of 2 inches, Chris.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this before, turn around, don't drown.
That's right.
I mean, it doesn't take a lot of rain for some of our low water crossings around here to be underwater, and it doesn't take a lot of water to knock your car off the road.
And let's anticipate those roads being flooded by the time tonight is over. Not tomorrow, tonight.
So if you're out and about, make sure you're taking it safe. Michael, thank you so much. And that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up in this half hour of the KOAM Morning News, a warning to the elderly as scammers pretend to be grandchildren in financial trouble. You don't want to miss this. Plus, we'll introduce you to one school resource officer who finds her way into a high school musical. What about you? You ever been in a high school musical or play? We're going to let you weigh in. We'll be right back. Consumer Watch this morning. Police in Minnesota arrested 2 men suspected of scamming older people in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Now, the con involves calling the victim and pretending to be a loved one who is in trouble and needs money. Lou Ragus reports.
It's a crime known as a grandma scam.
They know grandkids are your pride and joy. And there's no way you want your granddaughter sitting in jail.
Margaret Shannon from Hastings fell victim when she received a phone call from what she thought was her college-age granddaughter, crying, claiming to need $18,000 because of a car accident she caused. Margaret withdrew the money and gave it to a man she was told was a courier who showed up at her door. Police intercepted an additional $25,000 the scammers asked her to ship. She's sharing the story to warn others how easy it can be to fall victim to a crime that targets the heart.
So you're almost more relieved that
She wasn't hurt and wasn't in jail.
But Margaret's story ends differently than most of these scam ordeals. She had no idea that besides her case in Hastings, police were investigating the same scam in Woodbury, Savage, and Chisago County.
The same thing happened the day before in Savage, but there, a suspicious neighbor jotted down the license plate number. It was a rental car with a tracker inside, which eventually led police right to the suspects.
Inside this Eden Prairie hotel, police found close to $90,000 cash, more than twice the amount stolen from the victims police know about. Two men who recently arrived from New York, Derek Frazier and Derek Cooper, are charged with theft by swindle.
Why don't they just work for a living?
Yeah, I know.
If they are convicted, Margaret will get the rest of her money back, and she wants to give other victims the opportunity to do the same.
So we know there's more out there that probably haven't reported it.
If you believe you've been the victim of a scam, don't hesitate to notify the authorities. That is it for Consumer Watch. We're going to go over to Michael. We take this time now to honor today's four-state hero, Walter Falk. Arcadia, Kansas native Walter Falk served as a corporal in Korea for the U.S. Army, and we thank you for your service, Corporal Walter Falk, today's four-state hero.
This kicks off with Reed Johnson reminding us that some summer warmth is on the way. A great picture of Reed out at the beach, and a happy 7th birthday to you, kiddo, in Fort Scott.
And we've got Jessie Scott over in Quapaw. She is turning 10 years old today. A very happy birthday to you, Jessie.
We go from 10 to 11 because that's where we find Olivia Harris. Olivia celebrating in Minden Mines. Have a marvelous birthday, Miss Olivia.
And we've got Sydney Schneichenhert, who attends, I know I just butchered that, and I'm so sorry. That is a beautiful dress. We're going to make up for it. A beautiful dress, a beautiful looking young lady turning 17. It'll be 18 before you know it. And this is from Love Dad, Mom, and Steven, and she attends Labette County High School.
Nate Jacobs, happy 18th birthday. We got their little Southeast Lancer pride. Absolutely love it. Happy birthday to Nate in Pittsburgh with love from the entire family.
And we've got Larry Aplotnik turning 66 in Fort Scott.
They're back.
Here's the deal. Okay, so yeah, I of course wasn't here yesterday.
They're back.
Larry's a twin. Their birthdays were yesterday. Unfortunately, we had the wrong picture of Larry yesterday, so this is with the real Larry Aplotnik.
Well, and
please sit down.
So I got on the Aplotnik, and I got a chance to meet the Aplotnik. They're marvelous people. And so maybe I called somebody out yesterday for having one of their pictures but not having the other. So this works out perfectly.
Yeah, because guess who's next?
There we go.
Twins. This is Gary Aplotnik.
There we go.
Living in Claremore, Oklahoma. And of course, Gary aired as a no picture, but like you mentioned, we got it corrected. So we are celebrating. You can go celebrate your twins. Celebrate your birthday twice. Plus, you're turning
happy.
66. Twice is nice. Go celebrate twice.
That is perfect. Thank you, Aplotnik family. That's tremendous. Gary Terry is turning number 80. Mr. Terry, a very happy birthday to you. He's celebrating in Carthage.
We've got Lucille Goltra in Fort Scott. You can't tell, but she is turning 95. 95. I'm telling
Lucille, what a gorgeous picture.
Absolutely, and I need to know her secret to make it into 95 because she looks great.
Dolly Robinson had a birthday over the weekend in Columbus, and we're going to catch up because we want to wish Miss Dolly a very, very happy one as well. Speaking of Columbus, that's also where Amy Gray celebrates a birthday. Happy birthday to Amy. Becky Crystal, for all of you at Highland Elementary in the bus, make sure that you stop by and tell Miss Becky a very happy birthday. Teresa Leak, the big 5-0. Congratulations to Teresa in Altamont. Jaden Stevens recently celebrated a birthday, catching up with her and want to wish her a marvelous 17. And Addison Stevens had a birthday over the weekend. She is now 11, and she is one of Jaden Stevens' younger siblings. So a very busy and celebratory weekend in the Stevens household. A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all. Here's Chris Warner with a very important birthday announcement.
This is such an important birthday message because you can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. You know what happens when you do that? Do you know what happens? Ron, do you know what happens? Ron does not know what happens. You get stuff. You get some great deals from local businesses. And in order to cash in on all that, all you need to do is go over to KOAMnewsnow.com and you just click on that, sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. Michael Hayslip.
We'll be right back after this. Want to point out our southern portion of Delaware County, right there. Take Grove, go down where you see that right there. That is a flood advisory. So by the time Wednesday is over, we're going to have flood watches, advisories, maybe even some warnings. Now, as far as being on the road early this morning, you're going to be just fine. We've got a dry slot that pushes right through us. That being said, we're still sitting anywhere from about 1.5 inches to 2.5 inches of rain coming off of last night. Temperature's very, very nice right now, though. A whole bunch of mid-50s for the most part. But remember, we're a long way from being over, because as we transition through the afternoon hours, develops out to the west, not only additional rainfall, but also colder temperatures. Bust out the old winter coat for Wednesday. We're back down into the 40s.
Unfortunately, got to get that winter coat out, but yes, we do.
Yeah,
but that's all right. That's all right, because we're going to warm right back up.
So here's the thing, folks. We were fortunate enough to have a helper. We do, you know, we always love to have students, and now that we're coming off of the pandemic and we're able to have helpers and have classrooms back in the studio.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to get the new generation, the younger generation, interested in live television.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we are doing today.
Especially since you and I skew old. We talk about vinyl. We talk about Pink Floyd. We talk about Andrew Lloyd Webber.
We're getting a little up there in our age.
That's why we need young blood. Keeps us going.
It does. It certainly does.
I want everybody to have a marvelous, marvelous Tuesday. Remember, do me a favor. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.